Hey everyone, thanks for watching on YouTube. If you like what you're seeing, go down and hit subscribe down below, or if you really want to help out, you can go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/commandersbrew. But we're going to get right to today's deck tech.
Eggmon, we're talking Atla Palani. I'm doing an eggs tribal deck this time. So we know Atla Palani is one of the newly created C19 commanders. This was from the Populate deck. So Atla Palani Nest Tender is 1 and Naya. 1 red, green, white. You get a 2/3 human shaman with an ability to tap, create a 0/1 green egg creature token with defender. I have yet to get my eyes on those tokens. I can't wait to see how they drew those green eggs.
Yeah.
And
Green
what's on the back?
eggs. Green
eggs and
ham.
ham. Oh my god, we need boars. We need boars. Anyway, and so here's the interesting text. Here's what I'm drawn to. Whenever an egg you control dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom in a random order. If we load this deck up with only eggs, asterisk, then every time we sack an egg, a new egg will appear. And we will be able to sack every single one of our creatures. And I've got stuff going on to combo into some neat moves.
Working on a
Neat.
Okay, so knowing that this deck is absolutely packed with eggs or changelings, most of them are just that, right? They're just kind of eggs. They sit there on the battlefield and they don't do too much. But there's a couple that actually do something, which is worth noting. The first is Webweaver Changeling, the 3 green green 3/5 shapeshifter with reach that says whenever it enters the battlefield, if there are 3 more creature cards in your graveyard, you gain 5 life. So that's
based on what we're doing, we probably have 3 creatures in the graveyard.
exactly right. So like that's
Yeah.
that's good. That's fine.
Irregular Cohort is also the one from Modern Horizons. It's 2 white white for a 2/2 changeling that brings a colorless 2/2 shapeshifter with changeling with it. So this actually we now have 2 eggs. This egg is 2 eggs. Do you ever crack an egg and have 2 yolks inside? That's kind of what this one is.
Yeah, that's right. That's good luck. But that's people say anything related to birds is good luck. Hey, a bird pooped on you. It's good luck.
I mean, people say that with like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did your bike get stolen?" That's good luck.
That's good luck. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, your house burned down? Well, that's good luck.
Yeah, it's a way to temper bad news by making you try to think positively.
I know what you're doing. I got pooped on. It's not good luck. 2 actual eggs in the deck are Rock Egg and Dragon Egg, and those are kind of where the egg, I think the whole idea of the eggs comes from. When you sacrifice these, basically you get creatures from them. So the Rock Egg gives you a 3/3 bird, and the Dragon Egg gives you a 2/2 red dragon. They're both like O2s or 0-3 and an O2 with defender. And the bonus is the little dragon gets fire breathing.
Yeah, so as we're doing our chain, as I said, we're gonna sack every creature in our deck once this chain's active. So far we've gained 5 life. We've made a 2/2 changeling token in addition, a 3/3 bird, and a 2/2 dragon with fire breathing. And we have a couple of changelings that ask us to champion a creature or champion something. This was that effect from like Lorwyn block where creatures were a bit overstated, but you had to sack a creature as they came in, and then when the champion leaves, the creature that you championed comes back.
Yeah, so you exile them. You don't sacrifice them, but yes.
You exile them. However, if you have the option, so you don't have to champion anyone, and if you don't champion someone, the creature goes straight to the graveyard,
That's true.
which is exactly what we want from our eggs anyway. So like
yeah.
the changeling titan, we won't have to. It's a 4 and a green for a 7/7 shapeshifter changeling, which is pretty good, but we're not planning to. Like, I mean, if you really want to, sack one of those bird tokens. Like if you want something else to happen. Atla Palani, I'll point out, doesn't care how a creature died. So if you want to sack the bird that the Rock Egg makes to keep changeling titan around, that continues. Well, no, the bird doesn't continue it, but the changeling token from the cohort would continue it. Or heck, you are allowed to make actual egg tokens with Atla Palani. You don't have to only do this from your deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a nice way to get it rolling is if you make the one with Atla and then use it to sort of get into the shapeshifters and start the train rolling.
Of course. So that's a little summary of the interesting changelings. We're not going to go into the changelings that are basically vanilla changeling bodies.
Of course. Yeah.
So now let's get into what the deck does. How are we going to win?
Well, one way that will certainly help us win is Warstorm Surge. 5 in a red for the enchantment that whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So if you add up all the power in all the changelings in the deck, we get...
And that includes the birds that the tokens make and the little extras.
Okay, then that counts as 42 power. So if you one chain through the whole deck kills one person who's at their starting life total.
Right. So you may be thinking to yourself, but what's the point of going through my whole deck to kill one person?
Yeah.
Is that useless? It's like, well, I mean, there is the possibility that players are down a bit, like the life totals are not at their originals. So maybe you can do 42 damage of the remaining players and still win. But if you can't, I've included a few ways to just shuffle our creatures or eggs back into the deck. How does it work? Once you've broken an egg, can you put an egg back together? Felden's Cane says you can. It's 1 mana for an artifact, and tap, exile Felden's Cane, shuffle your graveyard into your library. We can do this at an instant speed effect in response to the last trigger going on the stack and have it continue. We can we don't have to restart the chain. We can just extend the chain just by, I mean, we have to sack one anyway, so we're sort of restarting it after every egg, but we just get to keep it rolling. There's no reason to stop. At an instant speed, just a tap and an exile of the cane, and we can keep this rolling.
Yeah, it like the chain continues if you want to. You can have it stop and then do Felden's Cane and then wait till like some other time for, you know what I mean?
If you want.
If you really wanted to. So, you know, you can do that, but
you can hold it up as graveyard protection in case you're worried someone's going to try to exile a graveyard.
That's an excellent way to do it. Cranial Archive and Perpetual Timepiece are 2 other ways to make that happen, right? We get some shuffling our eggs back in. Cranial Archive costs 2, and then you pay 2, and you exile it, and you shuffle your graveyard into your library, and then you draw a card, which is nice. Perpetual Timepiece, same thing, cost 2. You can tap it to put 2 cards from your library into your graveyard, and then you can also pay 2. Do the same thing, exile it, and then shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. So this is nice because you can actually shuffle the shufflers back in too.
They've all exiled so far.
Felden's Cane does it too. Sorry, I was thinking it doesn't. So yeah, you're right. They actually exile themselves, so you can't get this like infinite loop going. That kind of sucks.
But not all of our cards exile. We mentioned an asterisk earlier, and we will talk about that.
So, and I also just want to point out that running through the deck, like, isn't that just going to happen? Like the first egg you get, are you not just actually going like the first? And let's say you get a free sack outlet.
Yeah.
And you get, which we're going to talk about in a second, and you get an egg. Like, doesn't that mean you're guaranteed to run through your deck?
Yes. As long as you keep sacking eggs, you will get to the next one. There is one non-egg, non-changeling creature in the deck, and it occurs to me I may have forgotten to put that in the notes. Foolishly enough.
Well,
can we...
talk about it right now.
Sure. It's the one... I gotta think of the name of it. It's from the current M20. It's the creature that shuffles any number of cards from a player's graveyard back in. That is...
Loaming Shaman?
Loaming Shaman, yes.
Right.
So Loaming Shaman is a non-egg creature that when we get to Loaming Shaman will enter the battlefield, and we're going to pick ourselves, and we're going to shuffle any number of target cards back into our library. So we're going to take all of our eggs. Now this stops the chain. If this is our only creature on the board at the end, the chain will stop. So we're hoping that Atla Palani has an extra egg to continue the chain. We're also hoping that a regular cohort has gone by to give us that changeling token. That's basically what we're dealing with. We're not going to talk about it, but there's that birthing bow, the artifact that makes changeling tokens. If we can get some of those, so we need a little bit of support. Loaming Shaman is a risk that the chain ends, but I think shuffling back in our other things. We have one more shuffler that does not exile that we will talk to later. So this is a way to keep it going indefinitely.
I mean, as long as you make one egg with Atla Palani before you start this, right? So like you make one
Yes.
and then next turn make another one, let's say, or play an egg and then do it, then you're safe.
Yep.
All you
Yep.
need to do is make one egg with Atla Palani, or have the changeling that makes two changelings
Yes.
that you
a
just
regular
mentioned.
cohort.
A regular cohort. As long as the regular cohort comes up before the shaman, you're safe as well.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, so let's talk about some of those sack outlets.
Sure. Best one in the business is Ashnod's Altar. 3 mana for an artifact, sack a creature, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. It's the best one they've ever made because you profit so much mana. So as we're doing this, we're now netting mana as our combo goes.
Yes, yeah, which is so great, and that's why this is the such widely used sack outlet. Also, we have Goblin Bombardment, which is going to deal damage every time we sacrifice something, which is obviously very, very good in the deck when you can just loop your whole deck. How many actual creatures do you have? How much damage are you capable of doing with Bombardment? Like, maybe around the 20s or 30s?
Yeah, 20. I think there's 22 creatures in the deck. Okay. And then each egg also counts that we make with Atla Palani.
Yep, totally.
We can get extra eggs that way. So yeah, this plus Warstorm Surge just makes our combo happen faster a bit. Like when I say faster, I mean with less work on our end.
Yeah, so Goblin Bombardment can deal, can finish off that last bit of damage too, because other people are going to be damaging each other, of course.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm also running Altar of Dementia. This is the 2 mana artifact that is a free sack outlet, and when you do, target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power into their graveyard. So they mill based on power. But I don't care about milling. I mean, maybe if I have like I can't even imagine why I would want to mill myself. Like, there's no like flashback recursion spells that get things shuffled in. Maybe if I had like a perpetual timepiece on the battlefield and I want to get just the right pieces back into my library, I might hit myself with Altar of Dementia. That's probably not a zero. Like it's an above zero statistical move. So that's probably the move. But honestly, it's just in here for the free sack outlet.
Well, since you know you're going to hit Loaming Shaman at one point, if you...
Yeah, unless it's in your hand.
Right.
Sometimes these pieces get stuck in our hand and we have to cast them.
Right. In which case, like, milling yourself is good?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to mill other eggs away. Yeah. So if we don't have a shuffler on the battlefield, I wouldn't recommend it, because if you mill away your shufflers, you're done.
You're trapped with one go through of the eggs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting to keep track of.
So let's get to the fun part.
Yeah,
so
fun part.
Right. So this deck does not have black. It would be very easy to make this an aristocrat style deck so that every time a creature dies, we get to like drain our opponents for one. But I don't think that's as interesting, and we also wouldn't want any non-egg creatures. So we have other super fun things to do while the chain is going off.
Yeah, one of the great ones is Guardian Project, 3 and a green for the enchantment. That's whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control. If it doesn't have the same name, you draw a card. So basically, non-tokens, every card in Commander is going to hit this. You know this. We talk about this a lot. This card is climbing up in price. Just want to let you guys know. I mean, it's not crazy expensive yet. It's still around the $2-3 mark or whatever, like $4 Canadian, which is kind of rough. But I would suggest that if you like this card and you think you're going to want to be putting this in green decks, going forward, I think you got to go out and grab these.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a budget tip there. But yeah, this is going to let us draw a ton of cards in this deck, obviously. I mean, 22 creatures in the deck, 22 cards you can draw.
22 non-token creatures.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, yeah. So I imagine there comes a thing where like if you draw too many of the eggs into your hand, that's not good though, right?
Yeah, we definitely do that. We definitely start drawing some eggs, but we also end up drawing things like Felden's cane. That's the only way to get more Felden's. Like we need ways to draw, because as we're going through the chain, if we don't have a Felden's cane, if we don't have Warstorm Surge, if we don't have some of these other cards, we're not doing anything. Right. So this is a way to like I would go through a chain with Guardian Project just to look for more pieces.
Yeah, you got to find the Warstorm Surge. You got to find the sack outlets, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
I think another fun card is Ulvenwald Mysteries. This is that enchantment from, was it from Eldritch Moon or Shadows of Innistrad? It doesn't matter.
Shadows,
it's 2 and a green for an enchantment. And whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you investigate. You put a clue down, and you can spend 2 mana to crack the clue to draw a card. So every step we get a clue, because they're all non-token creatures, except for those weird ones that make tokens. And it also says whenever you sack a clue, you put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. Well, here's why Ashnod's Altar is so amazing, because every time we sack an egg, we're getting the 2 mana, which we spend to crack the clue, which also gets us a 1/1 white human soldier token.
Then you can also sack for mana for the clues.
We could also sack for mana that way to do other things with, or cast the things that end up stranded in our hands. Like we can use this buildup of mana to do that. Or I'm just happy to have a bunch of 1/1s to block potential threats, because like we gotta kind of keep defense. I didn't mention this earlier, but every egg is a fine defender if we're worried about people attacking us. Because like, cool, I'll chump with my egg. Here's a new egg. like I'll chump all day with those.
Yep. Yeah, and amazing. This is so fun. We also have Gutter Grime, 4 and a green for the enchantment that says whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you put a slime counter on Gutter Grime, then put a green ooze creature token onto the battlefield with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of slime counters on Gutter Grime. To me, this seems like a very fun win con in the deck.
Yes. So I want to just paint out what this does.
Yeah.
Every time a non-token creature dies, you get an ooze token and a counter. And the ooze tokens are always looking at how many counters are on Gutter Grime. So as you go through the chain, you're getting more and more counters, more and more oozes, and those oozes are getting bigger. So one full chain, a perfect chain with Gutter Grime out, you have 22 oozes that are 22.
That's insanity.
Yes.
You're right. This is the fun part. Gutter
This
Grime,
is the fun part.
One goes to
Now,
the deck, 22s.
I must point out, if you destroy Gutter Grime, all those oozes don't see any counters, so all those oozes disappear immediately.
Yeah, that's a real risk.
It's a risk, but man, it's fun.
But here's the other thing, like
those oozes are hitting Warstorm Surge targets. If you have Warstorm Surge, each ooze it gets bigger, and you're doing extra Warstorm Surge.
What I was thinking though is like, okay, Genius or Grifter, you don't tell people that that's how the enchantment works.
Oh.
Like, obviously, if someone asks you, you're honest. You don't lie or anything. If they don't understand the card and they ask you, you're straight with them. You don't want to mislead anyone.
Yes.
But, like, when you put it down and someone starts, like, looking at it and they're like, oh, man. Okay.
I guess the real test would be...
You don't have to volunteer the knowledge that if they just kill Gutter Grime, all the tokens go away.
Right. Okay, so here's the extra layer to this discussion. What if your opponent uses a Mortify, which destroys either an enchantment or a creature, and they use it on an ooze? They clearly don't understand it.
Right.
They clearly do not understand.
And no one else... yeah. And no one else at the table also understands it. You're the only person who understands how it works. That Genius or Grifter. I mean, it's a casual game, so like, you probably just be like, okay, well, if you just destroy the enchantment, you'll kill all of them. Like, I think you probably should. I mean, but there's definitely cases, depending on the player and the state of the game. I always think that, like, if you're about to win, it's okay. You don't have to do that. But if it's just like the middle of the game and it's not like,
right,
it's kind of it just would set you back. I think like, you're just gonna be like, well, if you just kill this, you get all of them.
That's so interesting that I almost see it flipped. Like, if you're about to win the game with this, I feel that's when you should most probably tell them, it's like,
oh, really? No, no.
I'm about to win, but like, here's okay.
If I'm about to win, if I know that like all I need to do now is untap with these oozes or something like that, like for some reason, if that was the case, if I just need to untap with these oozes, and they go, okay, mortify one of your oozes, I just go, okay. right? I'd say,
Yeah,
all
okay.
right, like,
Okay. Yeah.
all right, all right,
Yeah.
all
No,
right.
you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Because I don't have to, like, why am I going to give up my win? I don't have to.
Yeah.
Earlier in
that's
the
true.
game, it's good sportsmanship, certainly, and like if it doesn't matter, it's fine. But like right now, I'm like, this is the difference between winning and losing. Like I don't have to make myself not win. You know?
Yeah.
I think I think that's
see
fair.
your point.
Yeah.
I think it's fair too. It's just a very interesting
Yeah,
discussion.
it is. It is a very interesting discussion. But but this is a very fun card. I know I've seen this card before and thought about it, and like obviously ooze decks, are something that would probably play this. But this is a really fun usage of the card. Very cool.
Yeah. So that's the deck. That's kind of what it does. That's kind of how we're looking to loop our eggs. We're gonna break so many eggs.
Oh, so many eggs.
Put
So many
them
omelets.
back in the chicken, and then have them get born again and get laid again.
Oh man, so many eggs. What came first, the egg or the egg?
Oh boy,
the changeling or the egg?
that's a very good question.
What about surprise and discovery, Sean? Is there anything in this one?
Definitely had one. So I wanted ways to shuffle that were instant speed. Here's one that doesn't exile itself that you can shuffle back in with Loaming Shaman. Loaming Shaman plus this, or a regrowth effect, for example, can get this chain going forever. It's repopulate. 1 and a green for an instant. Shuffle all creature cards from target player's graveyard into that player's library. So this only gets us creatures. So this will have to get us Loaming Shaman to get repopulate back. But it also has cycling too. So like if that's not useful, we can turn it into a card. It's got cycling, and it does exactly what we want in this deck at instant speed.
Then it's in your graveyard to be loaming shaman back into the deck if you want.
Yeah.
Cool, neat. That after the surprise and discovery, that means it's time for the budget report.
How many of these eggs are in the omelet? Is it a 10 egg omelet? A 22 egg omelet? It's a big omelet.
Yeah, this is a big omelet egg wise, but not necessarily budget wise.
Well, okay, so the deck it's a cheap deck. I'm not counting the price of Atla Palani because at the current time we're recording this, the decks are not for sale yet. Like you can pre-order them, but you can't actually get your hands on them. The prices change so dramatically from when they're actually out and so we're not going to go into that. But outside of the commander, this is a $72 deck. However, I feel like that's not the most I mean, that's just what it is. But all of the expense comes from the sack outlets. Number one most expensive card is one we haven't talked about, Blasting Station. It's a 3-mana artifact, but you have to tap it and sack a creature, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. But whenever a creature comes into play, you may untap it. So obviously the egg chain continues this forever. So Blasting Station is effectively infinite sacks, and it's free. Ashnod's Altar, $5. Goblin Bombardment, almost $5. The whole, like, that's already, we're talking like 15 to $20 just for the sack outlets. If we want to keep Ashnod's Altar and we want more sack outlets that cost colorless mana, that's a way to keep that going. And heck, if you've got budget, throw in Phyrexian Altar, right? If you want to pay the $20 on that, right? Like you could make this more tuned, more effective that way.
Wait, Phyrexian Altar's black.
Not Phyrexian Altar. No, Phyrexian Altar is the colorless one that's Ashnod's Altar, but it gives you 1 mana of any color.
Yeah,
instead of.
That's black.
No, Phyrexian Altar is.
Oh no, you're right. Sorry, I'm thinking of a totally different card. You are right. That is not black. Of course, I would think something Phyrexian is black, though. Am I right?
Of course, it's very reasonable.
But yeah, you're right. Phyrexian Altar. Yeah. Throw that one in and get actual colored mana. Sure.
Yeah, and like that's a great way. If you get cards stranded in your hand, you can cast those out of your hand much easier. Like that way really ups the effectiveness of the combo. But I mean, it's up to you. How reliable do you like it? How much money are you willing to spend? I feel for $72, this is pretty reliable, and I'm happy with the price.
Yeah, not bad. I think it's a really good price, actually. For especially for such an off the wall deck. Like your opponents aren't going to expect this. That's for
Unless
sure.
this becomes the standard Atla Palani deck, then maybe they will.
And that's up to the listeners if they want to do that. Let's talk about our favorite cards in the deck, sort of other than the ones we've talked about in the main show here. I'll go first. I really like your inclusion of the Mending of Dominaria. The 5-mana saga that is put the top 2 cards of your library in your graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Those are the first 2 steps of the saga, and then the third one is return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, then shuffle your graveyard into your library. So this is another one of the cyclers, right? We got a lot of these cyclers. These are very important to the deck. But I just like this one because not only are you getting some recursion on creatures, which might give you that extra bit of damage that you might need to finish someone off for like one of the Warstorm Surges or one of the sack outlets or something. But we're also like getting a lot of the land back from some of our discard stuff. Like I noticed in the deck, you've got some of the like Faithless Looting,
Cathartic Reunion.
Exactly, that's what I was looking for. So there's a couple things like that. So if you're pitching lands at any point in the game, you can just get them back. There's also, we talked about like the milling from the sack outlet there.
Altar of Dementia.
Thank you, Altar of Dementia. And so there's a couple of different outlets of like milling or discarding or so on that can actually become a real thing. And getting that extra mana means you're making extra eggs, which means you're able to cast the stuff from your hand once you're drawing. And that I think is really key to getting the deck moving. So I actually really like the Bending of Dominaria in this deck.
Yeah, and I want to point out that the third saga that shuffles everything in is a draw trigger. And as long as your sack outlets are at instant speed, we can resolve all of it with that trigger on the stack and do as many eggs as possible and then shuffle everything back in.
Yeah. Sweet.
My favorite card, it's another silly one. It's Mirror March. 5 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, you flip a coin. If you win the flip, you create a token copy of the creature, and that token gains haste, and you exile at the next end step. You keep flipping until you lose the flip. So you could get anywhere from 0 to 1 or 2, and if you just go ham on coin flips, you could get 5 or 6. So if we go through a full chain, these are all non-token creatures. So on average, every other one will give us a version of it. So we'll end up with quite a full board full of eggs. Yeah. For more Warstorm Surges, we can attack with these ones. So if we luck out and get like some of the ones that attack well in multiples, we can just get some extra damage in that way. Or we can just sack them for one of our many sack outlet uses.
Someone needs to create an app, or they need to add a part onto one of the existing like life counter apps where it's this mechanic for these decks. So flip until you lose. So all I need to do is hit the flip until you lose button, and then it tells you how many flips you got until you lost.
Oh, that would be great.
Because like, especially in this deck, this card I think it's awesome in this deck. I think it's really, really good actually, even though the floor to ceiling ratio on this card is off the charts in a normal deck. But in this one, it's like, you're going to hit a bunch of them. So you need to be hitting the flip until you lose button a lot, right? Because you need to do that like 22 times
per cycle.
That's going to take so long if you're actually flipping coins. So like, hey, app developers out there, if your Commander life counter app does the flip until you lose thing, like I'm gonna use it. In this deck. So try that out.
Fun.
Very fun deck, Sean. I think this is like I think you mentioned this idea to me after we did the set review, like right after we did the set review.
I think I mentioned the idea came to me during the set review. Yes. The idea came to me there, and then at the end of it, I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm so happy to see this come to fruition. This is like such a wicked idea, and I think I love, like, it's basically an Aristocrats deck, not in black, and I love mixing with the color pie like that and seeing what does green and red bring to the table for this type of deck. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I suspect we will see this on a future episode of Battle of the Brews sometime.
Oh, really?
Probably. It's too fun.
It is too fun. I love it. Okay, well, that's the episode this week, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.